The phone buzzed. A message lit up on the screen. From my wife. "Tomorrow you'll die." And I'm the one who set it up. I froze. In my hand, a bouquet of red roses. I had just bought them, planning to bring them home, to make peace with Emily. We'd fought all week. Dishes left unwashed. Bills paid late. Me coming home after dark. I thought, maybe flowers. Maybe a simple dinner. And it would all fade away. But those words, they shattered everything. The bill slipped from my hand. The wind carried it down the street. The roses fell. Petals scattered across wet pavement, crushed under passing tires. I stared at them, and it felt like my chest was being crushed the same way. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. Her phone hacked. A message sent to the wrong person. But the soldier in me whispered, "No mistakes, Dylan. This is real." I slumped into the driver's seat. Cold sweat ran down my back. My mind replayed everything. Her eyes on our wedding day. Her smile when we bought that tiny house. Her whisper, "Just come home safe," each time I left for work. Memories that once warmed me, now cut into me, like blades. The woman who kissed me beneath the wedding bells, who braved long winters by my side, was now choosing the day, and the way I'd die. Outside, the world went silent. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, loud, pounding, like war drums. I touched my wedding ring, still wrapped around my finger, cold, heavy, like a shackle. And I realized, 15 years of love, the promises, the embraces, all reduced to one message. I could call her, scream for an answer, but instinct told me, stay silent. The hunted never warns the hunter that it has seen the trap. From that moment, I knew. I wasn't just a husband anymore. I had been pulled into a deadly game, and the one moving the pieces was my wife. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'll lose first. My life. The woman I once loved, or the soul that's been bound to hers. For 15 long years, my name is Dylan Hughes. 40 years old. I used to be Special Forces. Years in the military taught me how to endure the freezing cold, the hunger that claws at your gut, and the fear of being surrounded on the battlefield. I thought I was born for war, for guns and fire. But in the end, I realized what I wanted most wasn't victory. It was a place to come home to. The one who made me believe I could leave the battlefield behind was Emily. We met at a psychology seminar. Honestly, I didn't care much. I was only there because a friend invited me. The room was crowded, serious faces, people talking about human behavior. I felt out of place, stiff in my old coat. And then I saw her, brown hair falling loose, eyes blue and clear like a lake. During the break, she turned to me. "Did you enjoy the topic today?" I gave a half smile. Truth is, I didn't understand much. I'm only used to looking at people through a rifle scope. She didn't flinch, didn't laugh. She just looked at me for a long moment and said softly, "Maybe you've seen things others never want to see. But sometimes, peace comes from having someone willing to listen." I never forgot those words. They stayed with me, through long nights in the barracks, when sleep never came. And eventually, I went back to find her. 2 years later, we married. A small ceremony, a few dozen guests. I still remember the priest asking, "Do you take her for life?" I looked straight into Emily's eyes, and with my voice shaking, I answered, "Yes, I do." We bought a small house in the suburbs of New York. Not fancy, but to me, it was heaven. A red brick house, wooden window frames, a tiny garden with carnations. I once promised Emily, no matter the storm outside, when we step through this door, there will only be peace. Nights, I often came home late, but every time I opened the door, I saw the warm kitchen light, heard the spoon stirring in the pot, smelled soup on the stove, and her voice. "You're home?" 3 words, enough to erase all the fatigue. The living room walls were filled with photos. Our wedding, beach trips, winter in Vermont. Every picture, a piece of love. Proof, I thought, that we were meant to be together. We never had children, partly because of my injuries from the Army, partly because Emily wanted to focus on her research. Some nights, staring at the ceiling, I thought, if we had a child, maybe we'd be closer. But I brushed it away. 15 years of love. That felt deep enough. When I left the military, I chose to drive trucks. A simple job. Monotonous. But I liked it. The road stretched out in front of me. It kept me steady. I used to joke with Emily. I once drove armored vehicles. Now I drive a truck. Not much different. Just the cargo's friendlier this time. She laughed. Sometimes joined me on short trips. She often dozed off on the passenger seat, head resting against the window. I'd glance over, see her sleeping peacefully, and I'd think, every loss I've endured was worth it, just to have her here. Our marriage was built from small pieces. Friday nights cooking together. I grilled meat, she made pasta. The kitchen was cramped, but always filled with laughter. On the table, always a vase of flowers. She loved tulips. Sometimes I added carnations. Little notes on the fridge. Buy milk. New movie tonight. Tiny scraps of paper. But they kept the house warm. I cherished every detail. Held on to them like treasures. But about a year ago, things began to change. Emily often went out at night. Research meetings. Friends. Many times I came home to a dark kitchen. An empty chair across from mine. I ate alone. The sound of a fork against the plate echoing in silence. She used to pour me wine. Clink her glass against mine with a smile. Now, my glass sat untouched. She spent more time on her phone. If I walked into the room, she'd shut it off. I asked. She smiled faintly. Just work. But her eyes weren't the same. No warmth. No softness. Only distance. Like she was hiding a world behind her back. I noticed other things. A bank slip. A large withdrawal from our joint account. I asked. She said, investment for research. I nodded. But inside, doubt smoldered. On long drives, lying in the truck cabin at night, I stared at the dark ceiling and wondered, have I changed? Am I no longer enough for her? No longer strong enough to keep her? I thought of the last time we sat together on the couch. Her head on my shoulder. Her hand in mine. I couldn't remember when that was. That memory faded, replaced by her turning her back to me, her face lit by the glow of her phone screen. Many times I wanted to ask, do you still love me? But the words stuck in my throat. The soldier who once faced death on the battlefield couldn't face an answer that might destroy his heart. So that day, I stopped at the flower shop. I thought, maybe a bouquet of red roses could bridge the distance. I wanted to believe that one small gesture could bring us back. I didn't know. That was the day I would receive the message. Tomorrow you'll die. And I'm the one who set it up. The roses fell to the pavement, crushed under wheels. Like my heart. Maybe, for 15 years, I truly loved her. But her? I began to wonder. Did Emily ever love me at all? Or had she just been playing a role that I was foolish enough to believe was real? That message burned in my head all night. Tomorrow you'll die. And I'm the one who set it up. I've heard death orders on the battlefield. I've seen brothers fall right in front of me. But no explosion ever chilled me like those 7 words. Especially when they came from Emily, the woman I once called home. I drove back in a daze. Rain-slick roads glowing under streetlights. The bouquet I meant as an apology, now crushed in the sink, like a red corpse. Emily came home later. Her perfume filled the kitchen. Did you eat? She asked flat. Yeah, a bit, I swallowed. We sat at the table. The sound of silverware. Clink, clink. Each strike, like a bullet casing hitting the floor. She poured herself wine, set a glass of water in front of me. A small act, but it felt deliberate. Her phone buzzed. For a split second, I saw the name, Rich. She flipped it down, forced a smile. Just lab work. That moment dragged me back to a memory. An autumn afternoon. Emily once texted me, made your favorite dinner. Hurry home. Back then, a single heart symbol made me feel chosen. Now 4 letters, Rich, cut deeper than any blade. I gripped my water glass, cold against my hand. I'm tired. I'll turn in early. She nodded, eyes elsewhere. In bed, she turned her back to me, phone in her hands. The screen cast a pale blue crack across the wall, her fingers tapping. Click, click, click. I stared at the ceiling. That tiny sound filled my skull. And then another memory. A winter morning, snow falling. Her hands ice cold as she slipped into bed. I held them, breathed warmth into every finger. She laughed, whispered, if you keep being this gentle, I'll never be able to leave you. That memory now only brought pain. I told myself, don't act. Just watch. The next morning, I lied. Said the truck broke down, so I stayed home. Emily said she had a meeting in Midtown. She kissed my cheek. A paper-thin touch. 15 minutes later, I tailed her. Kept my distance. She didn't go to Midtown. She turned into a cafe on 34th Street. I sat behind a plant. Ordered black coffee. 5 minutes later, Richard Kane walked in. Younger than me. Wristwatch flashing. He placed his hand on her back. Too long. Too familiar. I didn't need to hear it all. Only fragments. Timeline. Clean. Vermont. Emily tapped her glass. Tap, tap, tap. A habit she had when calculating. Her eyes lit up. Like a switch had been flipped. The coffee in front of me went cold. 15 years of marriage. Leveled by a single touch. Back home, I found an envelope from the insurance company. I tore it open. My life insurance? Doubled. Beneficiary, Emily. Update, 2 weeks ago. I remembered the first time we signed those papers. Our first year of marriage. She laughed at my messy signature. Back then, it felt like a promise. To protect each other. Now, the same paper was a noose. I snapped a photo. Hid the original under the sink, in my toolbox. The only place left in that house that smelled of oil and iron. Later, I drove out toward the lake. The steep slope always needed careful braking. I pressed the pedal. It sank too easily. Pressed harder. Nothing. My heart shot up into my throat. SUV ahead loomed larger. I downshifted. Yanked the handbrake. Tap, release, tap. The rear tires screamed. The truck fishtailed. Then stopped sideways at the edge. Burnt rubber filled the air. I crawled out. Flashlight on the brake line. A clean cut. Jagged edges. Not a rock. Not wear and tear. A blade. At the garage, the old mechanic frowned. Someone touched this, fresh cut. I forced a laugh. Probably debris. He shook his head. No, this was a person. He handed me the severed tube in a plastic bag. Keep it. Might need it. I held it, my hands trembling. A threat. Then a staged accident. No more doubt. This was a plan. That night, I cooked dinner. Butter and garlic filled the kitchen. Carnations in a vase at the center of the table. Emily came home, her brow furrowed. No night run? Schedule changed. At dinner, her phone buzzed. She flipped it down. Who's that? I asked. Friend. Which friend? She sighed. Wore the look of someone pretending to be tired. You're different lately. Paranoid? It's exhausting. I'm not paranoid. I just need the truth. She gave a thin smile. Her tone like a doctor humoring a patient. You see traps everywhere, but home isn't a battlefield. I stayed quiet. But in my head, I screamed. Home is the battlefield now. Later, while she showered, I slipped into her office. Drawer half open. Inside, a leather notebook. First page read. Conditioning, trigger, response, extinction, phase 3. Notes in the margin. Delay 72H. Gaslight gently. Mirror guilt. And one line that froze my blood. Subject shows military-trained vigilance. Create coincidence risks. I put it back. Heart pounding. I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a subject. A test case. On the third night, Emily stepped onto the balcony, phone in hand. Cold mist curled around her. I stayed in the dark, listening. On schedule, Friday night. Low lights, heavy fog. No brake marks. If he changes plans, I'll adjust. Don't worry. I bit my lip until it bled. Me, a veteran who survived brutal campaigns, now standing in my own house, hearing my wife set the date of my death. She walked back in, smiling. It's cold out there. Yeah, I nodded. Better come in. Don't catch a chill. The next morning, I brewed 2 cups of coffee. She hesitated at hers, then said, Let's go to Vermont this weekend. Private cabin, no cell service. Vermont. I remembered our first trip there. Fog. Her cold hands in mine. Her whisper, I just need you safe. Now that memory stabbed me. If I can arrange it, I said, steady. I'll drive, she smiled. You've worked hard enough. And in my mind, a clock started ticking. That afternoon, a package arrived. Fragile, addressed to Emily. She wasn't home. I set it on the table. Tape across the top. It looked like a detonator. Half an hour later, she came in. Her eyes lit up, then quickly dimmed. Research materials, she said. Carried it straight to her office. Locked the door. I didn't need to open it. Her eyes told me everything. I called Noah, old friend from the unit. Noah, I think someone wants me dead. And that someone lives under my roof. Silence. Then he said, write everything down. Keep proof. Stay calm. And remember, don't become the man you hate. I hung up. For a moment, my chest eased. At least someone still believed. I wasn't insane. Thursday night, I spread it all across the table. Papers, photos, notes. I drew red lines. Insurance. Brake line. Cafe. Notebook. Package. Every path led to one point. Friday, Vermont. Cabin. Fog. At the bottom, I wrote one line. Don't let the soul die before the body. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Cabin check-in 1930 Fry. Confirm? I stared. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was a schedule. For my death. I typed back. I'll confirm tomorrow morning. That night, Emily slept soundly. Her breathing even. Face calm. I lay awake. Tick, tick, tick. The clock counting down. I remembered our wedding day. Her tearful, yes. The blizzard night. Her whisper, I just need you safe. Now those memories mocked me. Cruel jokes. I turned, looked at her, and whispered in my head. You can take everything. Love, trust, even my life. But one thing you'll never take is my soul. Less than 3 days left. I don't know how Vermont will end. But I know this. I'll see it through. And I'll hold on to what's left of me. The night before Vermont, I lay awake, listening to the clock tick in the dark. Each tick felt like a needle against my skin. I knew one wrong step, and I'd never hear the next one. At dawn, I brewed 2 cups of coffee. My hands shook, spilled over the rim. Emily came down. Her eyes paused, just for half a second, on her cup. Then she smiled, soft but cold. Did you sleep well? Enough, I muttered. She stirred her spoon slowly. Dylan, if someone spoke ill of me, would you still believe me? An innocent question on the surface. But I knew she was measuring me. I looked straight at her. The day you said yes at the altar, I believed. But trust isn't a test. It's a feeling. She held her smile, gentle, as if nothing had happened. But I saw it. My answer wasn't the one in her script. After she left, I picked up a novel on the sofa. A slip of paper fell out. Not her handwriting. Plan set, no second chance, ER. My hands went numb. I tucked it into a brown envelope. Already stuffed with the insurance policy, the photo of the severed brake line, the dossier of a staged death. And I was the main character. That night, while she showered, I slipped into her office. On the desk, an unfamiliar phone. Screen lit up with a message. Weather looks good. Friday is clear. Clear skies. So the road would be dry. The fog just right. The accident believable. I put it back. She came out smiling. I smiled too. 2 smiles colliding, like blades crossing. The next day, I took the truck to a different garage. The mechanic slid under. Cursed. Rear bolts. Half loose. Someone tampered. If I was doing 60. He glanced up. Your truck would spin like a top. No one walks away. I clenched my jaw. They didn't just want me dead. They wanted it perfect. An accident. On the drive back, I nearly clipped a minivan. A child's face pressed to the glass, staring at me. The image cut through me. I almost dragged the innocent into their bloodless plan. Saturday night, Emily cooked steak, poured wine. She lifted her glass. Her eyes locked on mine. Do you trust me? I set my glass down. Quietly. I want to. But trust can't survive if it's only one way. Her smile sharpened. Thin as a blade. Tomorrow, I'll show you where. That night, before sleep, she whispered, Promise me, no matter what happens, let me handle it. Don't resist. I nodded. But inside, a different word echoed, no. Late night. Doorbell rang. She received a small box, carried it into her office, locked the door. I heard metal clinking inside. Every click, another notch tightening around my neck. I called Noah, my old brother in arms. They cut my brakes, loosened my wheels. I almost killed a family. Noah, I'm burning inside. His voice steady. Don't become the man you fear. Stick to the truth. Document everything. Leave a trail. So if you fall, someone knows the path you walked. I sent him the file. Photos, notes, timelines. Set a delayed email. If I vanish, send to the police. Maybe it wouldn't save me, but at least it meant I wasn't blind in the dark. Sunday morning, sky clear. Emily wheeled her suitcase, smiling soft. I carried my coat, a folding knife, and the brown envelope inside my pocket. Before locking the door, I slipped a USB into a rented mailbox. If I die, the truth goes on. Emily drove. Music playing, her voice humming along, just like old trips, back when happiness felt real. But this time, I heard it as the prelude to a funeral hymn. At a rest stop, I turned back just in time. To see her hand something to a stranger. When I returned, she smiled. "Friend of mine," I asked. "Who?" She raised her brows. "Who?" "I was mistaken," I muttered. The word slipped out. Not I, your husband." We both froze for half a second. Then her smile returned. Sweet. Like honey laced with poison. The GPS blinked. Scenic route, less traffic. Emily tapped accept. The car veered onto a mountain road, away from towns. Few lights, few cameras. "Fresh air," she said, lowering the window. Fog swept in, damp, cold. I knew this wasn't a shortcut. This was the stage. "Dylan," she asked suddenly, eyes on the road, "if one day I wasn't with you anymore, could you survive?" I swallowed. "I've survived worse places than you'd imagine. I don't want you to hurt." "Then don't hurt me." Her smile drifted. "Sometimes, to end pain forever, you need one sharp cut." The words dropped heavy in the car. I stayed silent. My hand gripped the seatbelt, and a raw thought rose inside. She's talking about my death, right in front of me. As the last bars of signal faded, I texted Noah. "Route changed. Into the mountains early. If no reply by 21 o'clock, call state police." Message sent. Signal gone. I slipped the phone away. My heart slowed, not from calm, but because I knew the game had begun. The mountain road stretched out. Fog thick as wool. I remembered our first Vermont camp. Fire crackling. Emily laughing, shoving burnt marshmallow into my mouth. We promised. Every year we'll come back. Now, same Vermont, same fog. But the promise had turned into a sentence. Emily eased the speed. Her voice gentle. "Perfect timing. I've prepared everything. Nothing to worry about." I turned. Looked at the smile that once made me believe in forever. Now it was the smile of an executioner, wearing an angel's mask. The car rolled deeper into the fog. Headlights carving a dim path. My hand rested on my pocket, over the brown envelope. And I thought, Vermont cabin, once a promise, now a grave. But if I go down, the truth goes with me, and it will haunt the killer forever. The car disappeared into the mist. I didn't know if I'd live through the night, but I knew this. When the mask falls, there's no going back. The car cut through the Vermont woods. Fog so thick, the headlights carved only a narrow path ahead. Emily gripped the wheel, eyes fixed, her lips moving softly, humming with the radio. Once, that voice lulled me to sleep on her shoulder. Now, it sounded like a farewell hymn. 1930. The silhouette of a cabin appeared. Dark wood, sloped roof. Warm yellow light spilling from the windows. Looked perfect. A retreat. But I remembered the text. "Cabin check-in 1930 Fry. Confirm?" My heart raced. Emily cut the engine, smiled. "We're here. You'll love it." I stayed silent. In my head, one word. Stage. Inside, warm. Fire crackling in the hearth. The scent of pine thick in the air. On the table, a bottle of red wine. 2 crystal glasses waiting. Emily poured. Set one before me. Lifted her own. Firelight flickering in her blue eyes. "Dylan, some journeys must end. This is the time." Her voice was soft, but every word dropped like a stone. I looked at the wine. Red surface rippling, catching the firelight. The scent stung my nose. Instinct screamed, "Don't drink." My voice cracked. "Emily, did you ever really love me?" She laughed softly, lowered her gaze, as if confessing a sweet secret. But her answer froze my chest. "You were my most beautiful experiment." I heard blood rush in my ears. Every kiss in the snow, every letter, every embrace after a long trip. All of it. Just data in her report. "Experiment?" My voice like gravel. She leaned forward. "I study attachment, betrayal, fear. You were perfect. A soldier, wounded, hungry to trust. You don't know how valuable you've been to science. But every experiment must end. Phase 3. Extinction. The death of trust." The fire roared, painting her face red. I saw a stranger. The woman I married never existed. The cabin door swung open. Richard walked in, coat slung over his shoulder, cold air following. He smirked. Right on time, military man, always disciplined. He tossed a folder on the table. Pages rustled. "All complete. Your emotions, your reactions, your suspicions. Dylan Hughes, you're a golden sample." I let out a hoarse laugh, dry like paper burning. "You call this science? It's torture, dressed in a lab coat." Richard stepped closer. His shadow swallowed the firelight. "So what? Who would believe you? A washed-up soldier, haunted by the past, claiming his wife betrayed him for an experiment. You're a joke. Slowly, I pulled the brown envelope from my coat, threw it on the table. Papers spilled out. Photos of the insurance policy, the severed brake line, the slip with plan set, the loose bolts. I locked eyes with them. Copies, recordings, sent already. If I die, police get them. If I disappear, media gets them. You want an experiment? Fine. But the subject left a will. Emily froze. Her eyes trembled. Richard clenched his jaw. His hand gripped my shoulder, hard. I shoved it off. The chair screeched across the floor. A warning in wood and iron. For the first time, the balance tipped toward me. Emily set her glass down. The sharp clink cut the air. Wine sloshed over the rim. Red streaks spread across the table, like blood. She covered her face. Her shoulders shook. I never meant it to go this far. But Richard, they promised funding. Recognition. I was weak, Dylan. Tears ran down her face. In the firelight, they looked real. And a memory flashed. The hospital, years ago. My ribs broken. She sat by my bed, holding my hand, whispering, I thought I'd lost you. That memory was real. So then, was her love ever real too? Or just phase one of the study? My chest tightened. Two voices screaming inside. She's acting, don't believe. But what if the tears were real? Emily lifted her head, eyes red, voice shaking. You can leave, but no one will believe you. Or, drink this. I promise it'll be gentle. No pain. I looked at the wine, red surface reflecting the fire. Like an eye staring back. I heard Noah's voice. Don't become the man you hate. Hold on to the truth. I shoved the glass away. No. If I die, I die with my eyes open. If I live, the truth comes with me. Outside, wind howled through the trees. Fog lashed against the windows. The fire snapped and hissed. Our shadows danced across the cabin walls. Emily wept. Richard seethed. I pressed my hand to the envelope, my heart pounding like war drums. A single tear fell from Emily's chin, dropped into her glass of wine. The red deepened, thickened. I stared, and my chest twisted. Was it real? Or just another ingredient in the experiment? In that Vermont cabin, I stood between two people who could kill me. One weeping, one clenching his jaw, and me, hand on the only shield I had, the brown envelope. The Vermont night had begun, and I knew the real twist hadn't come yet. The fire cracked in the hearth. Pine smoke mixed with the sharp sting of red wine. The wooden beams creaked with the forest wind. The cabin was small, but it pressed down on us like an interrogation room. I sat in the chair, the brown envelope in my hand, sweat soaking through my back. Emily wept. Richard stood behind me, eyes glinting like a predator's. 3 of us. 3 heartbeats. Each beat, another blade hanging in the air. You think a few scraps of paper will save you? Richard snarled. He lunged. His hand slammed mine onto the table. The chair screeched. Wine sloshed, spilling red across my wrist, like blood. I clenched the envelope. Teeth grinding. Touch me, and the files out there explode. His face came close, breath reeking of mint and smoke. No one will believe a paranoid soldier. Suddenly, Emily rushed between us. Richard, stop, her voice cracked. This isn't the deal. He shoved her back, growling. You've gone soft. He's a subject, not your husband. Emily shook her head, tears streaking her face. He's not just a subject. I looked at her, my chest tight. For a moment, I saw it. The hospital years ago, her hand clutching mine, whispering, I thought I'd lost you. So real, I wanted to believe. Believe that once she had loved me. But then the firelight caught her eyes. A predator's glint. My heart split in two. One half screamed, she's acting. The other whispered, what if this time it's real? My hand shook, but I held the envelope tight. The only anchor I had. Richard pulled something from his coat. A syringe. Pale green liquid glinting. 1 shot, he said coldly. He'll sleep forever. An accident. Emily screamed. No! She grabbed his wrist. The syringe slipped, clattered to the wooden floor, rolled, and stopped at my feet. I stared down. My heart clenched. Death, inside a small vial. Cold, waiting. I picked it up, placed it on the envelope. 2 choices, I said. 1, you finish this, I die. But the truth lives. Police will know. 2, you stop now, and at least one of you walks away. Richard's veins bulged. Emily panted, eyes red. I lowered my voice, drove each word like nails. You turned marriage into an experiment, love into data. But the truth has already escaped this cabin. I'm no longer your subject. Emily's tears poured. Dylan, if you still believe, come with me. We can run. I'll testify. I was wrong. But I loved you, once. I stared at her, my hands trembling, mouth dry. Noah's voice echoed. Don't become the worst version of yourself. Hold on to the truth. But my heart still wanted to believe. One last time. Richard sneered. She's just acting the finale. Don't tell me you're that stupid. He slammed the table. Glass shattered. Wine bled across the floor, mixed with the tears falling from Emily's chin. The smell of alcohol filled the air. The firelight cast our shadows high on the walls. He lunged. I dodged. My back slammed into the wooden wall, pain shooting through me. A chair toppled, crashing into the fireplace. Embers burst. The cabin groaned as if ready to collapse. I grabbed the envelope, raised it high. One more step, and everything goes public. Emily spread her arms wide, screamed, "Stop!" If he dies, we die with the truth. Silence fell. Only the wind howling outside, and 3 ragged breaths inside. I looked at them. One man with violence in his eyes, one woman with tears on her cheeks, and me, caught between truth and emotion. I whispered, "Tonight, one of us leaves with clean hands. And that one must be me." Emily bowed her head. A tear dropped, fell straight into the pool of red wine on the floor. It spread, darkened, like blood. My chest twisted. Was that her last sign of love? Or just the final stage of the experiment? The cabin shook with the forest wind. Our 3 shadows writhed across the wooden walls. I stood there, hand gripping the envelope, eyes fixed on the dark red stain at our feet. And in my mind, one thought. The Vermont night isn't over, and the price of truth may be blood. The forest wind howled. Fog wrapped around the cabin, like a burial shroud. I stepped out. The brown envelope pressed hard against my chest. The wooden door closed behind me. Golden light leaked through the cracks, blinking, like the last eye watching me leave. Each step away, the creak of the cabin followed, as if the place was still alive, still trying to pull me back in. Then came the first light of morning. The forest burst into damp green. Birds sang. The fog thinned. Peace. So complete, it was hard to believe last night was real. I dropped to the base of a tree, pulled the wedding ring from my pocket. Cold. Silver catching the early sun. I rolled it between my fingers. And I remembered the day I went down on one knee, heart pounding like drums, believing love could protect us forever. My hand shook. For a moment, I wanted to put it back on. Wanted to believe her tears in the cabin were real. Wanted to believe that at least once she had loved me. But I gripped it tight, took a deep breath, and laid the ring on the wet moss. I didn't bury it, didn't hide it. I left it there, a farewell. People think betrayal is a knife in the back. But to me, it's an embrace held too long, until you realize you can't breathe. The Vermont night taught me this. Love can be faked, trust can be broken, but truth, no matter how sharp, is the only thing that keeps me standing. I'm no longer the man who thought love was enough. I'm the man who walked out of the dark, scarred, burned, but unbowed. I rose, faced the trail leading down to town. The morning sun spread across my shoulders, warm, strange. I turned back once. The cabin still drowned in fog, its light flickering, like a whisper calling me home. And inside my chest, a thought cut deeper than any wound. I escaped the Vermont night, but I'm not sure I ever escaped her.